Here now is Matt Austin and Ginger Gadsden with Florida's Fourth Estate. Sponsored by Light Orlando, delivering hope together.
So glad to have you with us for another edition of Florida's Fourth Estate. Just got a message today on Facebook. Sir, why do you call it Florida's Fourth Estate?
And you're not selling homes?
Is it a real estate show? The Fourth Estate, my friends, is the media. We are media in the great state of Florida. I know it's a bad name. My wife tells me all the time, why'd you pick that name? Now we're stuck with it.
Yeah, because you love the show so much. We can't change it. How will you find us? How will you get your crazy Florida news? Right?
What will you search in your podcast app or on the News 6 Plus app?
Just keep searching what you're searching.
Florida's
you're finding us.
Fourth Estate, the media. Glad to have you with us. So good to have to explain this name 6 years into the podcast, Ginger.
I'm happy to explain it any single time because, you know, we are a Florida-centric podcast.
Amen.
And there is so much happening in the Sunshine State. And we're going to start with a story that went beyond the Sunshine State, but it originated here. Our governor, Ron DeSantis, of course, was a presidential candidate up until earlier this week. After the Iowa caucuses, he decided that he did not have a clear path to victory. So he suspended his campaign, which when people say you suspend something, you can always bring it back. But for all intents and purposes, he's out. And it was a long, long haul. And he started as a front runner and had so much momentum in the beginning. And to kind of end this way, I think Floridians, some of them are happy because now they say he can focus on what's going on in Florida. And there are a lot of issues happening in Florida. But here's a little bit of what he had to say after he dropped out of the race.
Can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory. It's clear to me that a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance.
That's right. So he has jumped on the Trump wagon.
He endorsed him immediately.
He endorsed him in that speech right there, like many of the guys who have dropped out already, Tim Scott, Vivek Ramaswamy, they have all endorsed Donald Trump, which he's clearly has pretty easy path, it looks like, to victory for the Republican nomination. A lot of people, when this happened, were wondering why not wait? Why not see if maybe he could pull something out? Well, if you go by the polls, he actually finished second in New Hampshire, and it's a lot better to drop out as the second place, to say, well, I got out when I was in second, rather than if he gets through South Carolina.
If we went to New Hampshire and then go to South Carolina.
I'm sorry, Iowa is where he had second.
Yeah.
Once it goes to New Hampshire, it's probably going to be a different story. And then South Carolina, where Nikki Haley was governor. So probably a good time for him to get out and just kind of say,
it wasn't going to go well moving forward. And he realized that and to save face. But he has 2 more years left as governor of Florida. And many people are thinking he should just focus on maybe 2028.
Maybe.
We'll see.
It's very precarious as to what he's going to do in the future. Clearly, he has a lot of run left in him. Young guy, very big name now.
And well-liked.
Yeah.
Well-liked by a lot of people.
For sure. So it'll be interesting to see. But now he's got to come back to the state and face some real issues. People want answers with property insurance right now. Like, what was going on? They've done 2 special sessions. Doesn't seem like they've gotten anything done. So people want to know about that. And then some very interesting bills are coming up. There's one that actually passed the House. Hasn't been seen for a vote in the Senate yet. But this is a wild bill. I want you to think about this. Basically, it would make it illegal for a kid under 16 years old to use social media. Now, at first blush, you might be thinking, okay, well, this is a little bit like something that China would do. We're going to make parents not have their kids on social media.
That's a little extreme.
Make it illegal. But I kind of like it.
And you like it because that means that you can blame it on someone else. It's not, hey, guys, I would let you have social media all day, but the government says you can't.
It's illegal for you to sit in there and scroll on your Snapchat. I'm sorry, guys. There's nothing I can do about it. Hey, you know what? Parents use the law in all sorts of ways. Did your parents ever tell you when you were a car, hey, turn that light off back there because I'm going to get pulled over? You can't get pulled over for that.
But you don't know that.
It's the same thing.
Your parents are the law.
And people want exceptions, like parents to be able to opt out. If the parents are able to opt out, then everybody's kids are going to be in, because the whole reason your kids are in this social media garbage is because all their friends have it, and that's how they communicate now. So I don't know that it's necessarily going to happen, because it hasn't gotten much action at all in the Senate.
Well, but it still has to be, if it does happen, it still has to be vetted by different social media websites. Like, you have to prove that you are older than 16, you know, and how do you do that? How do you prove?
Kids will be able to. Well, you got to have a driver's license. I mean, some kids who are 16 don't.
Only they could fake IDs.
There are clearly some ways around it. And maybe I think it's probably just all posturing. They're trying to say, hey, we're trying to protect your kids. But if it happened,
I'm not mad at it. I'm really
not mad at it either.
Let me tell you, when I say this next story is about two people who were speeding. Well, actually, one person, because only one person can drive the car. But there were two people in that car.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you. You're welcome. And if the speed limit is generally 70 miles per hour, you would think speeding, 95. That is really fast.
Well, you're cooking.
Slow it down, pal. And we've all been there. You're in the fast lane going sometimes 80, and someone is riding your tail. You're like, that person's going like 90 if they're just going past me like I'm standing still. These two guys were going 199 miles an hour.
Okay, can I tell you my honest first question? What the were they driving? Not many cars go 199 miles an hour.
I believe it was someone's Camaro.
Can we talk about which one? This one on the left looks just like Justin Bieber. What is going on right now?
It is not the Biebs. Does the Biebs even have it? Yeah, he does have a driver's license, but he's not in Florida on the turnpike going as faster than NASCAR.
They both have the same shaved slit in their eyebrow. Well, have you ever understood that?
They're in a club.
It's the eyebrow shaved slit.
Eyebrow club. I don't know.
I've never had a friend who had that. I've never had a friend who shaved one little thing in their eyebrow.
I've never had a friend.
Maybe you should do that. Then I could have my first friend who has a little cut in their eyebrows.
Just terrible.
All right, let's talk about something else going on. This was in Polk County, Florida, and this is everybody's nightmare. If you own a home in Florida, you go to sign up for your insurance, and they're like, hey, you want this extra sinkhole insurance? And you're like,
I won't need it.
When does that happen? The earth never just swallows up stuff. Well, let's take a look. This was an interview. This was an interview taking place.
The reporter's like,
good game face, reporter. This thing's 15 feet wide, and they think it's 70 to 80 feet deep.
I'm telling you, this just gives me flashbacks to, do you remember that Sefner
I know
sinkhole?
Exactly.
That sinkhole that opened up at Sefner. He was in his bed, and the sinkhole swallowed him up. They never found him. And if you think that this is not a common occurrence, when you think of lakes in Central Florida, which is where we are based, Lake Eola, that's a sinkhole.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it? There's a lake where it swallowed up so many. It's in Winter Park.
It swallowed a car dealership decades ago.
And it's a giant lake.
I think it's Rose Lake.
I think it's Rose Lake too. Yeah. But unreal. So this is how they keep people away from it, with this plastic fencing.
That'll do it.
But they didn't evacuate. I don't think, like some of those people whose homes you see, they're right there because they said the ground was stable where those people are. And I don't believe it. I don't believe it for 1 minute. If I'm living next door to that sinkhole, my house is going up for sale on Florida's 4th Estate.
Well, on our real estate show that we just started, it would be real hard to sell a house until they fill that thing in with some concrete.
I'll put my hose out there and fill it
They're
with water.
worried it's getting close to the road, and if it gets those people in that house are not allowed to return until they get this thing figured out to see how, because it's spreading as we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And if it spreads to the road or it spreads to the home.
Anywhere, if it just spreads
deep
in
trouble.
general. And one of our meteorologists, Samara Kokinas, did a great article on clickorlando.com where she explains the science of sinkholes, because Florida, we have a lot of limestone. It's very porous.
Oh, yeah,
so
it's all
not
limestone down there.
It's not anything that's uncommon.
Coming up after the break, we're going to talk to a pair of skydivers.
They're dropping from a plane.
They're falling from the sky and then skimming water and landing in one particular little place. It's an amazing sport.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome to another edition of Florida's 4th Estate. We're outdoors and we're talking to some adrenaline junkies.
Not us.
No, not us. But they are elite at what they do, some of the best in the world at competitive skydiving events, which I didn't even know was a thing until we started researching.
We're going to find out how big a thing this actually is, because we have two trailblazers and champions. They live right in our own backyard in Florida. So today we have the honor of having them on the ground. We're talking about Jeannie and Curt Bartholomew. Thank you so much for being here today. A lot of people don't even realize, as Matt just said, that competitive skydiving is a thing. How do you even get started in that?
Well, just like any sport, like usually you go out and do like a tandem. You said you did one over in Zephyr Hills, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you usually start out like that, and then you just start and go and you do AFF. It's called accelerated free fall. So you go with two instructors, and they're holding on to you the whole time. But then when you open your parachute, you're by yourself. They radio you in and make sure you fly and land in the right spot and give you help. And yeah, you just keep jumping from there, get your jump numbers up. And what we do is pretty, advanced. So it takes a lot of jumps and a lot of time to get there.
Yeah.
Oh, I would imagine.
And like a regular skydive would probably be boring for you at this point. I would imagine, Jeannie, you guys really push it to the limit. So we're going to show some video of you guys hopping out of a plane. You flip your chute open immediately, and then you hit over 100 miles an hour coming down, skim a little thing of water for some reason, and then you land sometimes perfectly in this little bitty red rectangle, right? What is this actually called?
That's what we're aiming for. It's called canopy piloting, and our slang term for that is swooping. And basically, we take the smallest parachutes that they make and we dive them at the ground going 100 miles per hour, bring the parachute out of the dive, go across the water, and navigate different courses over a body of water. And we have basically 4 different events that we compete in.
Okay, you say it like it's, I'm coming to the office.
I grabbed some eggs on the way.
Yeah, I'm gonna have some coffee. Yeah, because this is really unusual. Most skydiving starts at like 13,000 feet. You guys are doing it from 6,000 or so, right? So that's really, everything happens fast.
Everything has happened really fast because we're on such small canopies. We exit, we deploy our parachute right away, and then we're heading to the course. About 2.5 minutes until we're on the ground.
Okay, and you're some of the best. Like, I know you're going to want to be humble here, but I know they just got back from Dubai recently, and you won 3, you won 7, and so like you guys are some of the best in the world, right? Is that fair to say?
Yep, we're on one of the best teams in the world as well. We started the teams from scratch here in DeLand, Florida, and got a bunch of teammates to help us along the way. And now our team has the most world titles in the history of the sport. And I have the most world titles as an individual in the sport as well.
The most?
Yeah.
Okay, let's just make that definitive.
Let that sink in.
The most. The most.
Why
right
did
here.
you guys end up in Florida? Because you're both from other states, but you've been here for decades now.
This is one of the best places to skydive in the country. We don't have a season. Like, it doesn't get cold.
We're aware.
So yeah, so it's really nice. Like, I always planned on moving back to Pennsylvania. I came down here for college. I went to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University.
That makes sense.
And I always planned to go back to Pennsylvania, but when I started jumping, I realized, man, it is not fun jumping up there in the winter. So.
Because it's already cold,
yeah.
And then you're jumping into more
land
cold.
as a block of ice.
Okay, so my next question is twofold. The first time you do something like that and the door opens, right? It's go time, because you get to a point where there is no return. The first time, do you remember the first time you did that? And how many times have you guys actually jumped from a plane?
Yeah, I remember it super vividly, and I was already a licensed pilot at the time, so I was used to being in planes and everything. And I remember every little detail about that first jump, so it was pretty cool.
You look down and you're like, that's where I got to end up. But that door's open, and they're not closing it. Yeah. Right?
And especially when you open your parachute the first time, you watch your 2 instructors fall away. And I remember watching them, and that made it pretty real right there too.
I'm on my own.
Maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Exactly. Jeannie, do you remember your first time vividly as well?
Absolutely, yeah. And I wanted to skydive since I was 6 years old. My sister did a tandem jump, and she was 13 years older than me. And when I saw the video, I started making my own parachutes out of sheets, blankets, pillowcases, Mary Poppins, umbrellas. I jumped off everything. It drove my parents crazy, but I knew that's what I wanted to do. So when I got of age, went to the drop zone, made my first jump, and the door opened, and I thought to myself, this is crazy, what am I doing? And the second I exited the plane, it was like the gateway to nirvana. I like to tell people that you can equivalent it to driving down the road, sticking your hand out the window, and your entire body feels like that from the second you exit until your parachute opens. Because people are always afraid of that, roller coaster drop sensation. and that never happens on a skydive.
Yeah. So is it possible to just sustain yourself as a professional competing skydiver?
No, not really. We don't make our money doing that. We make our money in the sport, doing coaching or taking people for tandems, shooting the videos for the tandems, teaching people how to skydive. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it, and we own a few different businesses in the sport. So
yeah,
and we work with the military as well. So we train some of the military
Yep.
to fly their parachutes and mission stuff as well.
That happens in DeLand?
Sebastian, Florida is where we work out of. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's incredible. So the second part of my first question was, how many jumps do you guys have? Because you can't you're not in the hundreds.
No.
10,500 for me.
Yeah, and I have over 12,000.
And actually, I hit 10,000 jumps in Dubai earlier this year in February with my teammates, and we did an 18-person flock where 18 people fly their parachutes together in unison and do all kinds of crazy dynamic movements where we fly past each other, above each other, below each other.
That's what I don't understand.
And it was incredible.
You're going so fast. How do you guys sync up or link up? How is that even possible?
We just have a bunch of techniques and we teach that as well.
No, sir, you got to go into detail.
She wants to know how you cup your hands.
We use body position. We create drag. We reduce drag with our body position to slow our speeds down or speed up a little bit.
With the high performance parachutes, we have a lot of control. So we have different control inputs. We have 4 different types of control inputs. So we're using a big combination of those. Like we have brakes, and then we have like front risers that make the parachute go faster. So we just use a combination of those, and it becomes kind of like driving a car. You know, you get so used to it, you turn, oh, there's where I want to go, and you fly your parachute over there just like you drive your car.
You know what's incredible is that you see the video of you guys on the on the step there of the plane. And you can see where you're supposed to end up, and I'm like, that looks like a cup of water to me. And and the closer you get, but you've got your eye on it, and you nail it.
Do you have a touchdown dance? Can you, like, when you get a 100 or a 99, what does that look like? You're like this? Do you have a Heisman pose? What do we do?
For me, it's very specific, and everyone in the canopy piloting community, they know when I do well because I start jumping up and down and screaming, and it's like this high-pitched, crazy. Yeah, it's probably not super cute.
Are you high-pitched and crazy when you do it as well?
Yeah, that's more when I'm swooping, I get high-pitched.
You guys have been to some of, like Dubai is an amazing place. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
What are some of the other places that have just been extraordinary? Once that door opens to the plane, you're like, oh.
One of the other biggest one was we got to skydive over the Great Pyramids of Egypt, and that was pretty crazy. And
down the side of the pyramid, swooping down it.
They emailed us and they wanted us to come out and help organize an event, and they're like, yeah, you guys can do whatever you want here. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a pretty open statement.
Yeah.
So I sent them a couple videos, and I was like, this is what I'm gonna do if you tell me I can do whatever I want.
You don't know what you're saying.
They got really excited.
So, they're like, you're not gonna knock over a pyramid.
Yeah, true. That was the only stipulation. You can't actually touch them, but you can get this close.
How close did you get?
That close.
That close, yeah, that's about.
So I was able to just rip
insane.
absolutely down the side, and I swooped the Sphinx from the back all the way to the front, and then made it to this tiny little landing area.
So he has a selfie with the Sphinx.
Yeah.
I just got a chill hearing that. That is
pretty
incredible.
cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And what about you, Jeannie? Have you
Same.
had the same?
And we got to land in one of the temples in Egypt. We were the first people ever to land there, which was incredible.
Yep.
And the tourists were going crazy. They were just like, this is so cool. People are landing here.
I bet. Wow. So, okay, so if people are interested,
And they are.
like I am kind of interested in skydiving, how does it work? How can they contact you guys if they'd like to,
Any of our social media channels, they can reach out, absolutely. Skydive Sebastian is our home drop zone. So doing a tandem over Skydive Sebastian is incredible because we've traveled and been to over 50 countries and made beautiful jumps in all these places. We love going home because of the view at Skydive Sebastian.
But
It's
you're
right
close
on the
to
coast.
DeLand. Can people do it in DeLand with
Yep,
you?
Absolutely.
there is
yeah,
a big drop
yeah.
zone in DeLand.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of the industry is actually in DeLand. The manufacturers that make all the equipment, a big chunk of them are in DeLand. The biggest parachute manufacturer in the world is located in DeLand. So.
Who knew? Who knew? That's crazy. Now we all know.
I do want to say we had thought about having them land or skim over our pond and land right here.
Gator infested pond.
But we didn't want them to get eaten by an alligator. Just not that we didn't trust you, but we didn't want to
I volunteered to let Matt do it.
She would love to have that happen. I would definitely drown and get eaten by a gator. Curt and Jeannie Bartholomew, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Wow, what a cool life you must have.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Thanks for having us out. We really appreciate being here.
My pleasure.
He's like, it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
We're really lucky, that's for sure.
Yeah, you are.
And thank you for watching Florida's Fourth Estate. You can download it from wherever you listen to podcasts or watch anytime on News 6 Plus.